So I think the most important thing is to separate weight from body composition, right? Because I can manipulate your weight by maybe 10 pounds in a week without changing any of your calories. I'm not going to talk about any fat right now. I want to talk about body weight, literally the weight on the scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, what you're trying to do is spend most of your time being able to do really badass amounts of work, create training adaptations through recovery, which we've just spent an hour talking about, right? What that means is that you're probably going to be at a slightly higher body weight than your quote unquote project weight, or what I call performance, right? So is because you are much more replete with glycogen. Maybe you're doing something like taking creatine, right? That would create more hydration status in your muscles, right? You're eating a healthier diet, so you have more fiber and actually more weight of food passing through your gut. This is what people forget. If you're dieting, you're eating less weight of food. Because I'm mainly plant-based, I'm eating 2 to 4 kilos of food. I mean, some of my meals in the evening are like over 2 kilos because they're beans and vegetables and they're rice-based, right? This is a heavy meal. So guess what? I'm now going to be that much weight until I literally poop out the contents or urinate the excess hydration, right?
Right.
So what you got to understand is that the food that you eat has a weight to it, right? The composition of the food is going to cause a delay or a lag in that weight. Could be up to 48 hours, 72 hours. If you're female, you have a longer gut transit. If you are coming into various points in your cycle, you have a longer gut transit. This is why with my clients, I get them to weigh themselves every single day, even though people are like, oh, this is dysfunctional. No, because I want to show you how ridiculous this scale weight is. I want to show you that within a week or 2 weeks of your cycle, you can go up 2.5 kilos, right? Back and forth. And you haven't done anything. You haven't changed anything. Right. What causes a change in your body weight? Predominantly, it's going to be glycogen stores, which are going to be hydrated. We've got a paper with footballers who basically ended up storing like almost 10 grams of water per gram of glycogen post-match, right? It was ridiculous weight change for them. So there's going to be fluctuations in your glycogen levels, which is going to be hydration weight. If you're eating, quote unquote, a healthy diet, you're going to be having more fiber, and soluble fiber is going to store more water. And so you have more water in your gut. That's going to be more hydration weight. Depending on the salt content, that's also going to be hydration weight, right? Depending on your supplement use, like I said, creatines, that's going to be hydration weight, right? So we're shifting body weight up and down without even changing anything in terms of calories, right? So my model is as well, you need to get used to what I call working weight. So you do all the things to help you recover and do the most amount of work, and that might be a little bit heavier. Now, if you are now wanting, and this goes to the question that you put on Instagram, if you're now wanting to manipulate this without dieting, which is the whole point of what I'm saying here, is that you can play with things, right? Now, I'm not a fan of reducing carbohydrate to lower your body weight. I just think it's a dumb idea. I just don't think it's necessary, right? Carbohydrates you keep fixed. But what you can do is you can play with the composition of your meals and you can play with your meal timing. If you're going to be climbing in the morning, right, and you eat 1.5 kilos worth of food, guess what? You're going to be 1.5 kilos heavier. If you end up drinking 500 to a liter of water on the way to the crag and you haven't urinated, guess what? You're 2.5 kilos heavier. Anything to do with body fatness or calories? No, right? Now, people might be saying, oh, what are you saying? That climbers should be fasting before they climb? I'm like, well, you could if you're eating a bunch of food every time you're doing your training session because you're recovering before you need to. This is why I'm getting passionate about it, right? It's because I don't want people to misquote me. What I'm saying is that if every time you're putting your body under stress, you're bookmarking it, protein and carbs before, a lot of carbs, protein and carbs afterwards, you're recovering in real time so that guess what? By the time you come to the next morning that you want to do your project, basically just have some carbs to kind of refresh your liver glycogen, to kind of wake you up, to move out of the cortisol of the morning. And that could be a couple of pieces of toast, maybe a banana, protein shake maybe, or some honey or something, right? You don't need much because you don't need to fuel that session. You've got all that glycogen in your muscles already. You're already recovered, right? But what that does mean is that maybe you save yourself 1.5 kilos because you don't have a massive amount of oatmeal sitting in your stomach.
All right, y'all, just a quick 30-second shout out here for today's sponsor, which is the Crimped app. And I'm telling you, I love Crimped. Long before there was a YouTube channel, I was using Crimped to program my training because it takes the guesswork out of things. We're too busy to worry about this stuff. Open up Crimped. You can either load in a program like a Spork plan or a Boulder plan, or you can choose from the hundreds of exercises and protocols that they have in there to figure out your week. And at the end of each day and at the end of each week, you get to check them off. You know what's happening. You know what's coming. It will level up your training. I love it so much. Check it out. Hit that link. You can download it for free. All right, let's get back to the interview.
Now, once you finish your session, yes, put the carbs back in. I specifically say this to people who are doing long trips. If you're doing a week out somewhere, you need to be very disciplined to hit those food. If I'm working with competition climbers, as you come off and you go back to the isolation place, you're getting a protein shake in, you're getting your electrolytes in, you're getting a bunch of carbs in, right? Because you want to recover as fast as possible, faster than any of your competitors, so that you can do the thing the next day, right? You can't rely on dinner later. But what you can imagine now is that you can start playing with meal timing, not because of the calorie content, but because of the physical weight, right? You can also play with your fiber content. Maybe you can have a look at, maybe if I reduce the sort of insoluble fibers and soluble fibers, like vegetable peels and fruit peels and all the good stuff that's for us to be healthy. If you move that out, let's say 2 to 3 days before you go and do your highest project, your performance goal project, but don't reduce calories, don't reduce carbohydrate. Just got to be a bit more creative with your foods. It might be white rice, it might be more liquid types foods, meal replacements. I'm saying this is very, this is very specific. I don't want people to be doing this all the time, right? I have a whole article in my coaching called Development Nutrition and Performance Nutrition. This is a performance. This is an acute, tiny window, 4 days maybe. You play with that, you can basically change your body weight without changing your calories and without changing energy availability and without changing carbohydrate availability. All you're doing is you're playing with the physical weight of the food or the physical weight of your body through manipulating things like that, right? So that's an acute strategy that you can do. Again, if you're repeatedly doing stuff like climbing and you've got a whole trip, you can't keep applying that. The wheels are going to come off. Right? And you're also probably going to have constipation at some point or diarrhea, one or the other, because you can't, if you start yanking, fiber out of your diet, something's going to happen. Now, last thing, what you've got to be very careful of, and this is what I call about like the drug effect or the doping effect. If you keep climbing when you are doing this performance option, you will then learn that this is how you can climb. This is your climbing ability. It's not. Your climbing ability is what you can climb when you're the heaviest, when you're well fed, when you're eating loads of carbs, when you're eating loads of fiber and having a healthy diet. Your flash grade, I tell my clients, your flash grade will probably go down when you work with me because you'll probably be about 1 kilo, 2 kilos heavier, right? But your workload and your training capacity will go way up.